super excited to be here today. It's our launch episode 1, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about how and why we each got into business, because this is a time where we talk about business, lifestyle, mindset for the modern entrepreneur. So I'm Mandi Wilkie. I'm here with Allie and Baxter, and let's dive in a little bit on how we got started in the business. So Baxter, you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'm happy to. This is a lot of fun. I'm excited to be able to be a part of this show with you, ladies. So thank you for saying yes. For those that don't know, Mandi, this actually was really your idea to get into this. So talk about entrepreneurship and mindset and everything, right? Like you were having a conversation with me about our partnership professionally, and then Allie was just minding her own business, editing at a table, and you're like, hey, really quick, should we start a podcast? And Allie looked up and said yes, and I think went right back to editing, and I was like, great, let's figure it out. And 3 or 4 months later, here we are, finally getting it going. So
yeah, and how many times do you think people actually come up with an idea and then it just fizzles and they never do it? Where, you know, I think this was it was kind of a joke when we first started, and then we're like, why not? And before the end of that 10 minutes, we had a schedule in place to sit down and talk about our first episode and what we wanted that to look like. And now here we are.
Yeah, even just sitting down and being like, wow, that actually could be a really good idea.
Actually getting three schedules to align.
That I think is the most important and most impressive piece of this. If we offer nothing to anybody in this podcast, is that 3 very full parents, entrepreneurs all got together and said, what does our schedule look like? And to actually get something on the calendar has been fantastic. We'll see how that works as we go along. But I think for us, I was like, hey, if we can do that, shoot, this podcast is going to be easy, right? So should be a lot of fun.
And fun, yeah.
But to answer your question, as you mentioned, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. I own Colburn Creative, which is a videography, photography, and podcasting business based in the Green Bay area. Serve an international clientele, not just the Green Bay area. Do a lot of work in real estate, in tourism, manufacturing, sports, business, lifestyle, branding, really a little bit of everything. Truthfully, as I'm starting to, every time I list that off, I'm like, a lot of different stuff. Love it. Came into it, honestly, on accident. So I went through a divorce a couple of years ago, and during that process ended up losing my day job as well. And as you know, when you get divorced, suddenly you don't have a lot of money. And so
it's a funny thing how that happens.
How that happens, right? And I was in need of money because I have 2 kids and bills to pay and all that fun stuff, right? So I had gotten asked for a local soccer team that I work for, the Green Bay Glory, to do some short promotional videos for their upcoming season. And they were going to pay me $50 a video. And I thought, oh, heck yeah, $50 a video. And there's 25 players. I'm doing the math. I'm like, this is incredible. Yes, this couldn't be better. Went through, did those videos. And as I went through those videos, and they were literally wide open for creative freedom, just make sure you hit 1 or 2 of these little things, but do whatever you want. And I'm like, awesome.
A dream job.
Correct. Yep, exactly. But to clarify, I had only done a little bit of video and photo work for previous jobs that I'd been a part of for short info videos or stand-ups for announcements. Worked in ministry for a little bit. So, hey, here's this week's announcements, church picnic, very, very brief. Have a background of being on camera, went to school for broadcasting. So I wasn't not familiar with that world, but to be the one behind the camera suddenly was a big challenge and a little daunting, because I'm like, I know how to turn the camera on and hit record, but what's this frame rate business? What's this 4K? Not to sound like I didn't know what I was doing, but truthfully, I had no idea, and I was trying to figure that all out. So those videos, I look back at them and I'm like, ooh, there was some interesting choices artistically on that, Baxter, because I didn't know if I knew exactly what I was doing, or everything was shot in 60 frames or 120 frames. And I'm like, oh yeah, so smooth, but it's ridiculous. But started with that, had a couple of people that were sponsors of the videos say, hey, that was really cool. Could you do a video for my business, or would you do something small for here? And said, sure. So did a couple, ended up kind of piecing together some clients. As I mentioned, kind of accidentally, once you have a camera in your hand, suddenly people are like, oh, well, you must be able to take family photos, right? Or could you take my engagement photos? And I'm like, guys, I'm not even figured this out yet. I'm still kind of learning and getting my wheels. But that process kind of developed a lot in 2021. 2022, I said, okay, I've got a little bit more training, got some more time under my belt, got a little bit better equipment, and said, let's really try to go for it. Ended up doing really well, had set some goals for myself and exceeded that monetarily and just growth-wise as a whole. And then in 23, have surpassed all of those goals again, which has been really fun to watch. Just because I feel like I'm still a big person of like, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. I don't know if I didn't go to school for this. And I tell that to people sometimes, like, wow, like you've been doing this a long time. I was like, no, I have not. I've done this for maybe 3 years, like really hard focused on it. Otherwise, it was just a passing piece of a job that I did. So to be in the position that I'm in now, if you would have told me that when I started back in 21, I would have been like, really? You sure? Me? Like, I don't know about that. I know that I can build businesses. I know that I have the passion and drive to do that. So I guess part of me wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, for the inability or the lack of experience, in my opinion, when I started to where I am now, I would be very surprised. So it's been a fun ride, and I've got to work with some really cool people and brands. And like I said, internationally, I have clients that I get to do stuff with from India, from China, Germany, all around the United States as well. And it's been a wild ride. Very grateful for that, for sure.
Yeah, and you're great at what you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I wish I could say I started 2-3 years ago and I'm now internationally known. Wouldn't that be fun?
That was a fun thing for end of 22. End of 22, beginning of 23.
Baxter's International. Mandi works with Ledgeview.
Which is pretty diverse and international, though, too. You've got some incredible clients in that area that you get to work with.
Yeah. Allie.
I was gonna say
That felt like a good segue to Mandi.
that was a really good segue to Mandi.
Teed it up for Mandi.
All right.
But
Okay, so I'm Mandi Wilkie. I own Stroll Ledgeview, which is a lifestyle magazine local to Green Bay. I am a franchise owner, so although I own this area, we are a national company. Prior to that, for 15 years, I sold commercial playground equipment. So I have been an independent contractor my entire career, since 22 years old. So I understand the ins and outs of working for yourself and being disciplined and also being responsible for your paycheck. So I, much like Baxter, which I think when you are going to start to get to know us behind the scenes, you'll know that the three of us, not everybody would probably put the three of us in a room together if they were to pick 3 people in Green Bay. But if you start to learn a little bit about our personal stories, a lot of us have we have parallels along the way.
Very much so.
So I started my Stroll Ledgeview business also in the middle of a divorce, right after I was fired from a job that I felt like I was really good at. And it was the only time in my career that I actually worked for somebody else. So 15 years as independent contractor in the playground industry, 2 years for somebody else, and did a really great job, but yet still got fired. And it was kind of my come to Jesus, if you will, of like, hey, I'm not cut out to work for people, because sometimes my passion and my drive can probably be overwhelming. And I get it. So kind of started this role, very much a God story for me. The former person that fired me, his name was Lane. And I referred to him sometimes as Drain, because it would drain my energy to go into work after, a couple of years of working with him. And it just really kind of sucked the life out of me. I came across the N2 company on complete accident. Again, really, that's my God moment, not really a complete accident, but whatever you want to call it. Came across that company, and it had been brought to my attention 2 times within 2 days, this random company that I had heard of. So I went on the culture deck, clicked on the culture deck. It was the owner, Dwayne, who is incredible. I can honestly say that the owner of this company cares more about the people that work with them than I could have ever imagined. And I love that about this company. But his first video, his first words were, "We seek radiators, not drains." And I was like, okay, God, we've got this, right? And for me, it was a moment of rescue. It was a moment of, hey, I know this is going to be a tough transition for me. Going through a divorce, being an independent contractor, working straight commission, starting a business. Wouldn't recommend it. 0 out of 10 would recommend it.
Can confirm.
Yeah, but 5 years later, here we are. And there's been a lot of wins along the way. There's been a lot of learns along the way. And the one thing that I know is that the only person that is responsible for everything in my business now is me. So if things aren't going the way that I want them to go, I have to get up and I have to look in the mirror and I have to ask myself if I'm doing everything that I need to do as an entrepreneur. So that's kind of how I got into the gig. And I've been in print in the Ledgeview area for 5 years, and I can't wait to see what the next 5 years brings for the magazine.
Yeah, happy 5 years. You just
happy 5
celebrated
years,
that
yeah.
about
Yeah, in
a couple
November.
months ago.
Yeah, it was
That's
very
amazing.
exciting.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. Thank you. So here we are.
Your magazine is so cool.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
really
It's
enjoy
beautiful.
looking at it.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
It's a labor of love, and it honestly wouldn't work without the support of the local business owners, of course, but then also without the residents. Like it is a magazine by, about the residents, and if they didn't contribute to it, it wouldn't work. So shout out to them because they make it work every month. So yeah,
Love that.
very cool.
Speaking
So
of somebody
cool.
that works a lot, Allie,
Allie.
you've been grinding for a lot longer than Mandi and I have. Tell us your story.
Yeah, as a business owner, starting my business pretty young, I was always kind of a little bit ahead of my years growing up.
An
I
old
was,
soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, my mom called me that.
I
You've been in
agree.
business for how long?
I've been in business for 14 years.
That's crazy.
Yes. And, well, I started my LLC June. It was 13 years. So I'm beyond 14 years business owning in an LLC format.
Legally.
Yeah,
So she wasn't old enough to vote, but
She
she
had a
started an
business.
LLC.
correct. Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
I was always an old soul. A little bit about growing up, I was a sports fanatic and I grew up and I did not like high school and I had a nice camera and I graduated high school early. And I'm just going to see where that takes me. And overnight, I had 500 followers, which was
crazy.
huge at that time. This was before the algorithm. It was before you had to pay to grow on social media. And I went from taking pictures of my coworkers at Walgreens and doing photography very short time for families and things like that while I was going to school for psychology to shooting a wedding actually on a yacht, like a little yacht boat in Sturgeon Bay. The photos were horrible. They were dark, grainy. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing.
Did the client like them?
But the client liked them.
That's all that matters.
And I did my job. And from that one wedding, I got one wedding that year to 16 weddings the next year.
Wow.
Incredible.
All based off of people that I knew.
Yeah, talk about word of mouth.
Yeah,
right.
word of
Seriously,
mouth.
holy
Yeah,
smokes.
it was word
Yeah.
of mouth marketing. And so then I was in college still and I was, working at Walgreens, but I was also taking pictures on the side. I remember sitting in my psychology courses, literally editing photos and not even paying attention to class at all. And I kind of took a step back and I was like, okay, I need to decide if I want to keep doing this or if I just want to take a semester off because I'm just so, the word I would use at the time is busy. And school really wasn't a priority for me. So I decided to take a semester off and I decided to roll with it. And I've never been back and I am a college dropout and I'm proud of it. Anyway, so
I love that. That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
talking about
School is
college
overrated.
and school. Yeah, school's overrated if you're going to be an entrepreneur. That episode's over.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's
Mic
the
drop.
long and short, right?
Yeah, and I became a mom at a young age. I was 21 when I had my daughter and I'm 30 now and I had never looked back. My business has just grown from there and I've gone through the ebb and flows of what business and entrepreneurship looks like. I've picked up other really awesome business mentalities along the way. And I love to blog and talk about fashion and style. And I love having my studio and sharing it with people and just, I've grown a lot and I used to do 40 weddings a year. So at the top of my business, after I had him, I went through some mental health issues and really was kind of forced to look inward at myself and look at my business and kind of figure out what caused me stress and decided to kind of do a little rebrand in the area of doing more so motherhood and lifestyle and family photography because that's where my heart's at. So that's what I do. And, my why is basically my kids and yeah.
And I think that's one of the parallels that draws us together is the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the whys behind it, the different things. But we also wanted to be real and talk about the reality and the real lives of being entrepreneurs, the behind the scenes. You touched on it a little bit with being honest and upfront about the mental health side of it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to dive in about that, but then also just we wanted to be transparent with whoever wants to listen or whoever's in this world of entrepreneurship of you're not alone in this. Most of us have been through, no matter what our social media might look like or no matter how put together we might look, at the end of the day, we're all just people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is real life. And being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being a brand owner, you are the brand.
You are the brand.
It is real life, and sharing those moments and experiences in business that coincide with our life and our lifestyle and where we're at in hopes of being relatable to you so that you have those moments of being able to look inward and say, oh, these people are in my corner. Like,
yeah, you're not alone.
You're not alone. You're not alone. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's always one thing that people in entrepreneurship feel like they have to almost like sell their soul to be successful, right? And I think there's so many different ways to build a business. There's so many ways to find success because everybody's life is different, right? Like my life compared to Mandy's life compared to your life are all very different. Are there similarities? Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, like I didn't mention this in my intro, but like I also work 40 hours a week for a company. I'm a full-time employee through a whole different company outside of building my business. So I'm trying to balance what that looks like to make sure that, my needs are met and our health insurance is paid for, right? And all of that stuff is so important at home. Whereas also building a business at the same time is a unique problem to have, right? In the sense where the two of you are a little bit different. Your magazine is all you do. Your photography business and the vault and other things that you're involved in are all you do. You're not going to
that is our full-time job.
You're not going to a 9 to 5, right?
Sure.
So I love the similarities yet differences of the angles that all of us kind of come together on to talk about entrepreneurship, because there's a whole amount of people that are side hustling, right? Like I had a meeting with the president of the company I work for last week. He's like, can we be honest? It's not a side hustle anymore. I was like, correct. It's not. I'm like, I am out earning my day job for the last 2 years consistently. And that's a huge and crazy thing to say, but at the same time, like that's awesome. It's a good problem to have.
Such a win.
It is. Yeah. It's a huge win. And that was something for me that I was like, oh, wow. Like when I first kind of realized that and then realized that it was going to happen again, I'm like, so there is something here. There is growth here, but that has been through some sacrifice. That has been through some nights, some weekends, some saying yes to everything in the beginning, and then kind of whittling it down a little bit to these are the areas that I know I can be successful in, and not saying yes and accepting that, oh, I've got to do everything and spreading myself too thin.
Sure.
And I think there's, one thing that I want people to take away, we talked about this a little bit. We've chatted offline a little bit about what do you want people to take away from this podcast, right? I remember there was a time when someone said, oh my gosh, you're always on the hustle, right? And I took it as like, oh, wow, I don't want to be seen as like the hustler, like in a negative way, right? But at the end of the day, recently someone's like, you're always everywhere. You're out and about, right? You're always everywhere. And I was like, okay, that is my definition of the hustle. I don't want people to think that I'm like hustling for the next deal.
Yeah.
I want people to think that I'm hustling for my community. I'm hustling for the businesses. I'm hustling for the people. Am I going to do it perfectly all the time? No. But the hustle doesn't have to be associated with the negative. I used to say I'm grinding, like I've got to do the grind, right? Because at the end of the day, whether people realize it or not, this is what feeds our families. This is what pays our bills. And I love that people think that there's an endless pot of money when you're an entrepreneur. It's not real. That's not real. Like we all have all of those expenses. But instead of it being the grind, it's the out and about for me. Because the more that I'm out and about in the community, the more that helps my business grow. So I think having these candid conversations with sometimes the words that we hear that they feel like they're to be people that are like not rooting for you and cheering for you. And everywhere you turn, you're going to feel like they're against you. This is where I want people to know my why is like, hey, we're cheering for you. We're rooting for you. No matter what your business is, what your goals are, you have 3 people that are rooting for you.
Yeah. And we're sitting here in a space talking about it in hopes that it reaches you.
Correct.
To open up the conversation and to talk about some of the hard things and getting some recommendations on what topics should be, because that's kind of the goal of this podcast, is to really allow this space to be a safe place, whether we bring a guest on the podcast, because we'll have guests, but also not just sitting here talking about ourselves and about who we are and what we're about, but more so about the topics and the triumphs and some of the lessons learned that have shaped us into who we are as business owners, but also as human beings and people that go through it as well. So, I mean, I love sitting in this space with you guys and recording these episodes, and I'm super excited to record episodes and have guests on the space.
I mean,
to
let's
talk
be
about
honest.
those.
Once they decided to add the video part of it, the hardest
two
part
of
is what
you,
we're going to wear.
The amount of clothing these ladies bring to a record is insane.
It's true.
Fun. It's so fun.
I love
This podcast is.
I washed my
hope
hair
that
today.
You think it's fun. I hope it's fun. I hope we talk about hard topics.
Yeah.
I want us to talk about things that maybe are taboo in the industries that we're in, but also give us opportunities to talk about what we do, how we overcome things, so that when you are faced with adversity in business and entrepreneurship, that you feel like you can reach out to us aside from the podcast. You can reach out to us on the podcast or even on our individual social medias, so that you feel like you have a friend in your corner who's in this.
And maybe it's not even the new entrepreneur. Maybe it's the seasoned entrepreneur who picks this up and is like, oh my gosh, I can help them. I can help them with some advice, because even though we're seasoned, we're still
experts.
always learning, and we're not experts. We're not the experts.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
See what I did there? That was an original tossed around name for anybody.
That was. It was an OG name that we didn't go with. It didn't make the cut.
I want to say something fast. You were talking about support and community and growth and everything. I've seen the same image a couple of times in the last week, which is interesting that you kind of brought it up. It was a picture. It's two pictures. It's a person walking down a path, and it says support, and it's one person walking and there's nobody behind him. And then there's another one that's same person, same spot. It says congratulations or recognition, and there's like 100 people behind the person. Kind of essentially saying like, it's you are your own person. Like I've seen those videos, and maybe you have too, where there's like a narration. It's like, no one's coming. Like, it is you. Like, if you don't get up today and do the thing, no one else is going to do it. Right. Type of thing. But so you have to be the one to show up in your business on a daily basis. Otherwise it's not going to grow. It's not going to, turn into the thing you want it to be. But also, when you do celebrate a milestone, you have a huge party at Cocoon to celebrate 5 years, right? Things of that nature. People show up, and it is kind of that visual reminder sometimes of like, oh, we are doing something big. We are growing. We are making a difference of whatever that might look like for you, right? Like, it's different for Allie and I at times, right? People don't have events. People don't show up to that, but like
one family
I think, people, one family at a time, people resharing things. My favorite thing is seeing things that like I've done for clients. I don't get tagged in them, but I just see them out in the world, and I'm like, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. Like, you showed us something before you recorded. You're in a photo that I took.
Which is a beautiful photo.
I appreciate it for Visit Manitowoc, but like
beautiful models.
Seeing it out
Paid
in
actresses.
the world though, right? Like, and it's just kind of funny to be in a restaurant to be like, oh, that's my photo. Oh, that's my video. Oh, that's that, right? Like, and that's not a brag, but it's like a cool thing to be like,
moment.
Things are, like you did something that somebody else feels proud to represent their business. So now they're using it in a positive light, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I think that's something super cool about all three of us is, although we all are doing our businesses for financial purposes, right? I mean, most people
Like
are in
most
their
people.
business.
Yeah.
We go to work because we have we also are very passionate about the things that we do and making a difference and having purpose. So we all have found our niche to do that. Yes, we're earning an income, but we also have a lot of purpose behind it.
Absolutely.
Which is super cool.
I agree with that.
I was going to ask the question, but I know we have a little bit of time left. Do you three remember how each of us met each other? I'm really curious. I know how you and I met, and I vaguely know how you and I met, but I don't know if I know how the two of you know each other.
It was social media that connected.
It was
us.
Instagram, I'm pretty sure, but only in the last like year and a half or so.
But it was the podcast that you used to run. I think we connected there, and like,
which one?
It was the podcast that you were producing, maybe. I think that's how
I think you and I had talked about you starting a podcast.
Linked
I think
up.
that was something. Yeah.
There was just something.
Like true, like knowing each other.
Mandi, I know you from my sister Sadie.
It's always back to Sadie.
Oh, Sadie. We love Sadie.
Sadie's a great connector.
She's I'm
You're also a great connector. Obviously, you're a great connector, but I'm
Sadie second to Sadie.
There you go.
Sadie, only because she's my sister.
Yeah.
Other people would not say the same. I've known Sadie my whole life.
Did we meet at her open house originally?
I can't honestly.
I think you were there taking pictures at her open house.
Yeah.
And
just
Sadie was
through Instagram though too.
Yeah, Sadie was one of my very first partners. when she didn't even have, I point across the street because that's where her beautiful space is. She didn't even really have a space yet.
Yeah.
It was literally like beams and boards and empty space.
Yeah, 'cause
and
she
she's
did the
like,
build
"I have
out."
this vision. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I just want to be around you, Sadie. And then there were multiple Sadies with her sisters, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we met. Baxter was a little bit stalkerish.
Very stalkerish. That's
He's like,
kind of
I
par
see
for
you
the
have a
course.
social media following.
Yes.
And you play golf.
Yep. So I
I was
doing
like, what
something
is
for
this
a
guy
client.
talking about? Yeah. Sorry,
So,
go
no,
ahead.
you're
But
fine.
once you know Baxter, you
It's
know
not-
It's not
not
weird.
weird.
It's
Yeah.
not weird.
it
Yeah.
means so well.
Yeah.
It means
Tiny
so
bit.
well.
So,
Yeah, I don't know how you came across me, but that's literally the message I got
You
from
and
you.
I somehow are Facebook friends. I don't know how.
God bless the Facebook.
Probably
Yeah,
from
right.
Thank you, Zuckerberg.
I would,
Bonus or
yeah,
something.
somehow. But so this was back in 2020 is how you and I got connected.
Again, people would think we've known each other for 10
Oh,
years.
yeah.
October, November of 2020, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I was running a podcast network, Public House Media, for 3.5 years. And we had started to dabble in the video side of things a little bit. And I was like, I had worked with a company called Golf, which is a virtual indoor golf simulator. And I was like, hey, I can do this really cool event for you where I bring in these, golfers, male and female, and host a tournament. It was a big tournament guy. I was like, I can get people together. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So I got 4 gals and 4 guys together, and we played this big tournament up in Sturgeon Bay. But I was like, I need more gals. I could find guys, no problem at all. But I'm like, I don't know any female golfers. So literally just going through my Facebook and looking to see if anybody had golf in their profile.
I think my profile picture
you
was
swinging,
at the Green
yes.
Bay Country Club.
Yes. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know who this girl is. She's got a golf. I'm like, I'm going to send her a message. Don't know her from nothing, but I think
Creepy.
this could be fun.
Creepy.
And sure enough, yeah, she responded and we had some back and forth a little bit about it. And I was like, yep, here it is. Here's the time.
Here's the date.
Yep, here's the date. Bring a couple outfits, right? Because we were filming.
Back to the outfits.
We filmed four episodes. We filmed a season.
a full season
Yeah, it
of the
was-
tournament.
Yeah, 4 or 5 episodes is what it was supposed to be in a day. And you come and she ends up winning the entire event. I'm like, that's thank you for coming. I don't know who you are,
Thank
but
you
I'm
so
so glad
much.
that you were
I mean,
here.
The rest is history, though.
It's true. And then
I
we
don't
just
show
kinda
up to
stayed
just
in
show
contact.
up.
Yeah,
Show up to win.
Correct.
Who's the guy I beat from Milwaukee?
He beat Dan.
Yeah, Dan thought he
Pfeiffer
was gonna
from
win.
Milwaukee. Yeah.
It wasn't women against women. It was everybody.
No, it was
all
a wide
in.
open. Yeah, it was 4,
Yeah.
and we had a wide range. We had a girl in high school. We had
We had a girl that had never played golf before, but she looked adorable.
Yep, and then we had
Wait, that
the high
makes
school
me sound
girl's
like I
mom as
won
well.
because people weren't good.
Well,
They
the
were
4
all
guys,
semi-professional
all 4
golfers.
of the guys were very good. Yeah, they're all LGB, PGA, LPGA, but all
Yeah.
4 of the guys are consummate golfers all the time, especially Dan and some of the other
Dan
guys.
actually had a piece of equipment to practice on for months prior to the
did,
tournament.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't get that. I showed up.
And
Here's
still
your
showed up
equipment and go.
Took everyone to the cleaners, but it was really good. It was a lot of fun, but that I think sparked just our relationship because I think you looked at me and you were like, oh, you do this businessy type of stuff.
Yeah.
I do them. And we had like passing conversations and then we kind of didn't really start anything, I would say, until 21-ish is really when we started.
When I got
this thing.
another random phone call. Like, I know you know nothing about soccer at
Yes,
all.
that's right.
Zero, other than my son played soccer for a lot of years.
Yep.
And I was told I can say, go Gavin. And that's it.
There you
because
go.
I don't know enough about soccer. But then you called me and you're like, hey, I'm doing this gig and I need
Yep.
like a TV host
Yep.
that doesn't need to know anything about soccer, but can just transition us from like
Correct.
above the field down to the field. So like, and now we're going to take it down to the field. Baxter. And that's what I did.
And that's what it was. She was our studio host for the Green
Yeah.
Bay Glory for a season. And,
I was.
and
It was
loved
so fun.
Yeah,
it was
a lot
so
of
fun. Yeah.
And that kind of, you were the inception of that. And then from there, it's now something that we've done the last couple seasons, which
Yeah.
has been a fun addition to it.
Which is also, another podcast, why we hate our voices when we hear them played back to us. But, whatever.
It's true. It
So
is
yeah,
very
that's
true.
our story. That's our story and how we met.
Yep.
And it
love
has
that.
evolved into these friendships that almost feel as if they were lifelong.
I would think so, yeah.
And we,
stars aligned, kind of.
Yeah.
I shot Baxter's wedding, actually.
Yep.
I was a guest.
Yeah.
And family photos and
Some
engagement
family
photos.
Yeah.
And
Tell the stories of Allie hiding in the bushes, coming out too early because she thought I was proposing, even though I was just getting something from the bag. In your
Oh,
defense,
shoot.
you literally
Yeah.
looked like you
I
were
did.
getting down on
I
one
was
knee.
like, oh, I need.
He
to
went
get
to tie his
something.
shoe.
I went to get something out of the bag, so I moved to like face Rachel, and all of a sudden she like
Rachel's
pops her
like,
head
Allie,
out.
what are you doing in the
Yeah,
bushes?
and I'm like,
She didn't realize, but I'm like, oh shit.
like,
Oh, you
no.
can't say that on our
Sorry.
podcast.
That's
We're a
fine.
clean podcast.
It's true.
Well, hey, the good news is that if I do a round 2, I have a photographer and a videographer
got you.
Yeah,
We're a
like
package
ready to
deal.
go. And I'm sure there'd
Got
be
you
like
covered.
some pro bono
Maybe, probably.
I'm sure.
like deal.
100%.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants everything
That's
for
what
free when
friends
you're an
are for.
entrepreneur.
Exactly. I will say though, Allie and I have never worked on anything together.
Wouldn't that be a fun collab?
That would be a fun.
I
collab.
mean,
Shane.
let's just
That'd be cool.
speak that.
Get it together, Shane.
Boy. Oop. Okay,
Good.
that's for another
All right,
podcast.
bud.
So fun.
That's true. Well, ladies, I'm excited for this journey. Should be a lot of fun. Every Monday, people can come and join us. As you teased, Allie, we're going to have guests, not only from area businesses, but people from just all walks of life that we enjoy, but have some sort of entrepreneurship, some business, some passion. It's not going to be a weekly thing, so don't look for an interview, but they'll be sprinkled in.
Yeah.
We've talked about seasons. We've talked about, I'm not officially sure, but there'll be guests on. We each have our own list of people, and we're excited to bring their stories to life as well.
Yeah. And Baxter, you're the only one really that has experience with podcasts.
It's true.
So I've never done this before. So I'm learning as I go. And I'm excited to just be in this space and chat with you guys and talk about the ins and outs and the fun and all the challenges that we face. And
You're already there though, because you're saying space. This is the podcast space, is
Oh.
what they call it. Yes,
Oh,
it's
we're in
not
a
the
space.
podcast world or the podcast industry.
It's a space.
For some reason,
Oh.
it's called the podcast space.
so
I didn't
I'm
name
meant
that.
to be here is
Yes,
what you're saying.
You're in the space. Welcome to the space.
I'm here. I'm present.
Yeah, and we're super
Exactly.
excited. And
Love
we're
it.
excited for what this does to lead us kind of to something new while we're still staying very true to what we do day in and day out and don't lose our passion for that as
Yeah.
well.
Yes, 100%. And I will say that too. We've kind of teased a little bit in terms of like what people can expect from us, right? This isn't here are your top 5 things to be successful in business.
Not at
podcast.
all.
Right.
Because we don't know those yet.
We don't. Yeah,
So if you know those,
yeah,
send them our
we'll have a
way.
guest on to tell us that. So we just want to be honest with people and say you're going to hopefully learn things, but also hopefully you can help us too, right? Like we want people to be communicative with us on Facebook and Instagram and have those conversations and send us questions if they do or thoughts about things, and we'd be happy to talk about them on the show.
Yeah, and in entrepreneurship, when you feel like you're on an island alone, one thing I love about this is whether or not anybody ever watches us or follows us or learns from us, the 3 of us feel supported in and out of our business. On a good
100%.
day or a bad day, when we're in this space, we feel supported. And that's what we want for anybody who's listening.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So I'm Mandi.
I'm Allie.
I'm Baxter.
Thanks for chatting with us.
Bye.
See you next time.